Okay. Yeah. Hello and welcome to another video. As usual, my name is Jeffrey. This is the Inquisitive Universe, and once again, you're welcome. In today's video, I want to talk about SoC optimization and what you should know about it, because I feel this is very important before we move on further in this series. So let's get started. All right, so we've been talking about SoCs for a while now, and I said that an SoC is short for system on a chip. It is a processor or a type of processor that we have on our smartphones. Now, unlike what you find on most PCs that have basically a bunch of CPUs and a GPU embedded in it, and that's just all it's got, a system on a chip contains everything. Like, it contains CPU cores, it contains a GPU, it contains an ISP for that's an image signal processor for processing images and videos that come out of your camera. It also contains a machine learning or AI unit that helps with several functions around the phone, from software optimization to like helping to process the images and videos that come out of your camera, amongst other things. Then there's also modems for network connectivity. There's routers for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. There is a display driver. There's so much stuff on an SoC. So that's why we call it a system on a chip, because it contains a lot of stuff that works together to help your smartphone run. That's why your smartphone is an all-in-one system which can do so many things. It can make calls, can do a lot of stuff that you don't even need like any external plugins and stuff. You just like pick up your phone and you use it as is. And we've been talking about these SoCs for a while. We've been focusing mostly on performance amongst other things. So that's why we need to talk about optimization. So first and foremost, what is optimization? Let's put it like this. Let's say you've got two knives, right? Let's say you've got one knife. Let's not even say two. Let's say you've got one knife and it's blunt. Can the knife actually do the job that you expect it to do? Can it carry out the function you expect to do properly? Possibly, yes, but it's going to take a lot more effort than it's needed. Now, what happens when you actually take the knife out and you have it sharpened, or you replace the knife with a sharpened one? Or let's stick with the blunt knife. Let's say you sharpen it now. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to do its job a lot more easier and with practically very little effort. So that's what we mean when we talk about optimization. Optimization simply means helping or designing or making a tool, or in this case a processor, like designing it in a way that it's able to do its function, it's able to carry out its function properly, optimizing it. That's basically what it means when you say optimization. That's making it preparing it, like designing it in a way that it's going to be able to carry out its function easily. That's what we mean when we say smartphone optimization. Now, most of the time, many companies do not really want you to know about this when it comes to smartphone optimization. They don't really want you to know about smartphone optimization. They just want to tell you these are the basic hardware specs, run with it. And for the most part, it's actually true. They are mostly correct, but not always. Now, the thing about smartphone optimization is that it is rather nuanced in a way that sometimes you don't really see it. For the most part, you can't really see it. Now, let's talk about how SoCs rather can be optimized. And the very first one is from the hardware side of things. Now, a company that I know that does this very well is Qualcomm. That's the makers of the Snapdragon series of processors. Now, up until recently, they had their own cryo CPUs. So basically what they did was that they would buy CPU core designs from ARM, and then they would take them and then they would optimize them to do the job that they expect it to do better. And that's not the only thing that they do. They would also take because they have their own in-house GPU that they made, right? For those people who do not know, Qualcomm bought the early variant of the Radeon GPU from AMD, and then they did a bit of rearrangement of the name and then turned the name from Radeon to Adreno. So yeah, that's a bit of trivia for you to put on the back of your mind. So the Adreno GPU is basically an offshoot of the technology that Qualcomm bought from AMD a few years ago. And now that they've even gone further, they've elevated the technology they got, they've elevated it even further. Now what they do on the hardware part of things is that they make it easier for developers to be able to understand the architecture of their GPU, just for them to be able to make games specifically for it. And they give out these designs and they incentivize people to say, hey, here's our GPU, take a look at it, understand it, so that it will be easy for you to be able to make software for it. That's the first part, the hardware part. And the second part is the software part, the optimization part. Now, again, Qualcomm. No, for reals. Again, Qualcomm. That's another very excellent example. Qualcomm does not only optimize on the hardware part of things, they also optimize on the software side of things as well. Qualcomm gives out the source code. It's like giving somebody the back door, the keys to the back door of your house and says, Mi casa, su casa. You're welcome anytime. Come in and take a look. Do anything you want to do. Understand the way I run my house. Just basically, like, you're free. Just do whatever you want. And that's another thing too. So the source codes for Qualcomm are out with, like trusted developers, and this gives them the ability for them to be able to make, stuff for Qualcomm processors, like, for example, custom ROMs, for example, GCAM mods, for example, like there's stuff like that. And, in addition, developers have the the know-how of how the Qualcomm hardware and the CPUs and GPU work. So with all the incentivization given to them by the host company, they then design games to run easier and smoother. They then make apps run easier and smoother on Qualcomm's SoCs. And the same thing that we're talking about here is the same thing that Apple does with its Bionic SoCs, I beg your pardon. The same thing Apple does with its Bionic SoCs. So if you're going to be working on the iOS platform, you're going to need to understand how the CPUs and GPU of the A15 Bionic, A16 Bionic, A17 Pro works. And then when you understand, you have to make the app run easier and smoother. You have to break down the tasks so easily that the CPU and the GPUs can run it, to make it feel as though it's like super smooth and all that. All of this is optimization. Now this one is for the CPU and the GPU. There's also optimization for the ISP, the AI block, amongst other stuff. Now different companies, like work with smartphone manufacturers and say, hey, here is the ISP on this stuff. So if you want to create software that would, the ISP is like this, like this, like this, but if you want to improve it using your own software, here's the backdoor, do it like this, do it like this. And again, back to Qualcomm. Qualcomm does that a lot. They optimize, they are always optimizing, right? It's the same thing too for updates. The manufacturer of this SoC has to be able to tell the smartphone manufacturer that is using that SoC that if you want to update here, the key is here, because there's a lot of security going on, so that they don't send like hacked, somebody somewhere doesn't send hacked updates to people's phones and then break them or hack them or something. So there's a lot of security going on there. So these people have to interact with each other. There's a lot of optimization is important, and there's a lot of optimization that needs to go on for you to use your smartphone. This is for a lot of these reasons. This is why phones with Qualcomm Snapdragon processors are a lot more expensive than those from MediaTek and Unisoc. Why? This is because these are the three third-party SoC manufacturers that make SoCs for other companies to use. So these people have to make sure that whatever SoCs that they are making should be able to run very well with not just the hardware from the smartphone company, but also with software from Android and from other developers too on the Play Store. So this is why optimization here is very, very important. Now, another way optimization can be done is from the smartphone companies themselves. Smartphone companies can make software that can, basically cover the faults or optimize the SoC that they've chosen, that they've put in their phone to be able to run decently smooth. And some companies can also use their software to botch the SoC that they've got on board, and they make it perform as though it's not as good as it really is. So these are some of the things that we need to know about, like some of the nuances and stuff, because people come and say, what's going on here? If you put, I think this was it was a serious argument sometime in 2019 when the Helio G70 actually had a better performance than the Snapdragon 665, but the 665 could do some stuff, could play some games, could take better pictures than the G70. It was like, performance, most of the time, performance is not always everything. Yeah, there are some people like me who, the performance means the world to me, but it doesn't mean the same for everybody. Even if performance is very important to you, there are some key nuances that you need to check when it comes to the smartphone, like how well does it process images, how well does it handle video, what's the network, what modems are on board that will help you connect to the internet and stuff, how optimized are this stuff, like SoC optimization of smartphone. SoC optimization is key here. But personally for me, the optimization I really care about is the one for the CPUs and the GPUs, and probably for the ISPs, because these are the key parts of a phone that I am mostly interested in. You could have the part that you are interested in, and we could talk about it. You could bring it up in the comments so we can discuss it if you are interested in discussing that type of thing. But that's that. I'm going to round up this video here. I'm going to go over the topic again. Smartphone optimization is when an SoC optimization, again, SoC optimization is when an SoC is optimized or is designed. I'm lacking words to use for this one now. I'm not using a script. My book is not here. Is when an SoC is primed, for the job that's about to do, like, sharpening a knife, for example. I think that's a very good way to go about it. So yeah, I'll be calling time on this one, and I'll see you in the next one.